welcome to our YouTube site and also to the portal, I guess, if you will, for our blog, one-on-one candid conversations.blogspot.com. Good morning, I'm Cliff. Yes, it's morning where I am, so I'm just going to say good morning. And today I'm going to be talking about some stuff that I think really is important with respect to content and how I view content, what I think is good and not so good with respect to doing it, and what you may want to consider with respect to um, a blog content, a podcast content, and of course YouTube content. So it is basically a general idea of what I think content should be and what it should not be. Now, I want to also point out to you that right now on the blog, I do have uh, a written Candid Conversations that is up there. It's with a fellow by the name of Vinod. I'll put the link in the notes here on YouTube. And basically, what this fellow does is he helps people get into the gaming world by providing some creative tools and something called the Unity Project is what he's a part of. I guess that's a sort of a platform that they use for creating games. And Vinod also created his own game. It's a racing game for kids and maybe teenagers and who knows adults if you want to play it. It 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 basically goes on the premise of, or is based on the premise of, taking math and learning and using it as a game, if you will, because you get to race cars in this game. But in order to race the car, you have to do one more thing before it starts to go, and that is solve math problems. It's really interesting, and he also sent me some codes. So I will basically look to see some commentary on the blog post. If you do a comment for me and tell me what you think, I have codes that basically I can offer that will allow you to get the game from Google and have some fun with your kids learning math and racing cars. So on we go with the next thing here. I wanted to, as I mentioned, talk about content, what I think is important to do and not to do with respect to content. And that said, there was a teacher I was engaged with when I was in college. I did radio broadcasting years ago at Mohawk College here in Hamilton. And one course I took was music. And the instructor had a very interesting point. He said, there's no such thing as bad music, only badly played music. Now, that's a pretty interesting and general statement, but it's kind of true. There is really no such thing as bad music, only very badly played music. And yes, I've heard some very, very badly played music. And I remember one time our station manager at CFMU, Victoria Fenner, came into the control room, was hearing this particular piece of music, and just basically said, "What is that?" It's badly played music. So it was really interesting. It is interesting in the content world to think about this. So there's no real bad content, just badly presented content. Content that really doesn't make sense. Content that is not presented in the right way. So let's start off with the idea of YouTube, okay? Because that's where we are right now. What you want to make sure is that what you do with your content is relevant to your audience. So if you're a site that's about gaming, your content should obviously be about gaming. If you do what I do, which is interviews, then basically interviewing is what this channel is about. Interviewing people that are interesting, and commentary. So I want to make sure that my content is relative to that. So I want to make sure, for example, the commentaries I'm doing and the interviews I'm doing are interesting. They're well researched. The comments, the same sort of thing. Well researched, interesting, engaging content. It's important to do that. So that's a really important thing. It's relevance that's important, and that's a key thing. The second thing is, as I mentioned, researching. You really want to research your content, making sure that you are looking at this from a perspective of doing it well. Now, it's important to understand that YouTube has very, very strict guidelines with respect to what you put up. So you have to be careful of what you're doing because of the fact that if you put something up here on YouTube that's, for example, violating a copyright or has content in it that is extremely provocative to the point of being a violation of their community guidelines, you're going to be slapped with a warning. I got one, and basically it was for some content I put up. Now, I arguably was thinking, oh, maybe I should dispute this, and then I thought to myself, let's listen to this, some of this stuff, and I could see where YouTube was coming from. So for me, I looked at it as, yeah, actually, it's kind of valid, because some of the things that I was saying in there could be construed as what they were thinking. Now, I know that for the most part, what we see here when this is going on is a lot of automation because there's thousands of videos even now going up onto the YouTube site. So they have to have some sort of mechanism, and they use machine learned AI to basically scan videos and video content to make sure that the things that they don't want aren't there. So, you should be aware if you get a strike, you might want to take a look and make sure, hey, is it really true? Or if it's not, basically dispute it, especially if it's a second strike, you want to definitely nip that in the bud. You want to overturn it if you can, because bottom line is, if you get a third, you could get yourself, well, banned. And getting unbanned is not easy to do. So and it means you would have to go to another channel to do your thing as far as video. So one of the things I've decided as far as content goes is I'm going to make sure that what I do is relevant, real, well researched, good content, and sure, every now and then I might have somebody on the channel here who is a bit controversial, but I'm really not going to look for some people out there, for example, who are well known for their controversy and engage with them. They have got their thing going on. What this channel really is about is finding interesting people who don't have a lot or are medium players, if you will, their content, their ideas. They're out there, they're noticed, they're in the media and whatnot, but they're not as big as, say, a Donald Trump. Okay, I'm not interested in that, or a government official like our Prime Minister Trudeau. Not interested in interviewing him. Now, I have to say, I would be interested in having an interview with Mary Simons, who is our Governor General. That would be interesting to do. But she's a very famous person. She really doesn't need me to do interviews with her, because the bottom line is she's got enough channels to do that. One of the things I do as a hobby is ham radio. And one of the rules of ham radio is that we don't put on our air anything that is commercial in nature. So we wouldn't, for example, promote a radio station such as, I don't know, such as Chum here in Toronto. We wouldn't do that. And the reason for that is because they have enough of a space that they can do their own advertising. They can get the word out about themselves. They don't need hams to do that. And it's the same thing on this channel. I don't really need Chum to do that. To get my name out there. What's important is good advertising as well. That's another thing. So I use VeeFly. VeeFly is a really great tool for me to advertise the channel, and they only use Google. So it is a partnership that we have going through them with Google, if you will. And those ads are legit. So they bring real people to this particular channel. And the subscribers that you're seeing on this channel are real people. They're not fake. Now, I noticed that there's no comments on my videos. I'm okay with that. I mean, if you want to comment, you want to like, and you want to share, please do so. I'd love that. But know that, yes, I do use advertising. I do go out there and pitch this particular channel on, social media, on different blogs, if I could. If I'm doing an interview, I want those people to pitch me, please. Tell the world about this channel. Thank you very much. Same thing with the blog, one-on-one Candid Conversations.blogspot.com. Share it, please do share it. That's the whole point. That's another thing. Make sure that you're reaching out to people with your content and engaging them and asking them, hey, what do you think? Can you please share this? And so on. And get people to like your channel by clicking on the bell and subscribing, and also getting notifications about what you're putting up. So those are some of the key things with respect to a video. What about a blog? Well, let's talk about a blog like one-on-one and candid conversations.blogspot.com. For them, for example, my advertising is through Blogpros, and they get me tweets. They get me on other things like I forget all the channels now, but the tweeting is one of the biggest things they do. So there's Twitter, there's LinkedIn also that they post on. So they'll post my articles on there. So there, I want to make sure my content on the blog is very, very strong. And what that means is um, the grammar is correct. If I'm doing an interview, I don't usually edit what the person is saying as far as their writing is concerned, because it's supposed to be conversational. It's not supposed to be um, cut and paste and made pretty. But if there are glaring errors in, particularly on my side of the conversation with the syntax of the piece, I will actually edit it so it's readable. The whole thing is presented in such a manner that a person can read it and say, "Oh, I get it. I understand what this person's talking about. I understand what the interviewer is asking." I remember years ago going into a church here in Hamilton. It's no longer part of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada, but at the time it was. And Parkdale Gospel Temple was the name of the church. They, I think, have changed in a lot of ways. I've never went back after my visit there, and there's a reason why I'm going to explain. I went there. The pastor basically was going to do a sermon on a certain topic. He mentioned what it was. I forget now. Started to talk about the thing, and that's all I did throughout. What? There was nothing about what he was talking about that related to the subject matter that he was proposing as the topic. It didn't make sense. And that's a real important thing when you do content, whether it's on YouTube or in your blog. You want to make sure it makes sense, that it's topical. So again, you want to make sure your topic is relevant. It is well researched and so on. So I've already reiterated that. I'm going to reiterate that point again. It's important to do all these things and to make sure that particularly if you're writing, your grammar is good. If you're just doing writing, if you're doing interviewing like myself, some of that is important, but also you want to make sure that you don't spoil the vibe of what the conversation is in an interview post, because it's really about the person. So don't do too much editing. Just do enough so that the reader can make sense of what's going on. They're like, oh, I don't get that. You don't want that. You really don't want that. And I know even at work, I work for a large company here in Hamilton that deals with a client, and we handle their technical support, and we use troubleshooting guides. And I can tell you some of those are written really bad. It's like, what? It's like I just no, I don't understand that step. I need clarification. So sometimes I have to reread the thing because it's so badly written. So. I hate to say it, but some of those troubleshooting articles that I have had to deal with are just god awful because they're grammatically horrid. So that's important when you're writing, whether it's a troubleshooting article or, in my case, an interview blog, or just you're doing a blog post. Please do make sure that your content is understandable. Now let's talk a little bit about podcasting, and I'm going to combine all three of these things with one of my points in this. But podcasting, again, you want to make sure that you're recording in a room that is suitable for recording. So you can see this is my so-called recording studio. There is background noise. You will hear it. And on the podcast that I have, which is Tales from the Cube, by the way, I'm going to plug it. Basically, it's a podcast about call centers and what it's really like to work in a call center. And I have some tips and funny stories and not so funny stories about what it's really like to do my job. Now, having said that, when I'm recording, sometimes I hear background noise. Now, I can't eliminate all of that, but what I can do is mitigate it by making sure that what I'm recording won't jar the audience. You've got to be able to hear it, so it shouldn't have a lot of weird stuff going on in the background. Sometimes I've been even in interviews with people on here on this channel, and I've had them with other people in the background. I can hear other things. Okay, I'll live with it. But if there's too much going on in the background, it's going to distract the audience, whether it's YouTube or in a podcast. So a good, what's the word I want to use? A good room that is conducive to good sound is going to be important. Good audio. You want a nice, good microphone. I'll show you mine. This is the microphone I use, and it's actually very good. It does the job. So, and the other thing too, you notice it's not on me. You don't see the microphone. You might see me wearing headphones from time to time because I'm listening when I'm doing an interview. So I got to be able to hear the other person. And on a computer like this, whether it's a podcast or whether it's a video like this, if I was doing an interview and not connected via headphone, I'm going to get feedback loop, and it's just going to be bad. So that's why I wear headphones. It's not because I'm trying to look like some hip hop DJ. It's because I'm trying to hear the person I'm interviewing with, and that's would be the same in the podcast if I was doing that. If I was interviewing live, but most of the podcasts right now I haven't done any interviews. But so to reiterate, you want a nice room that has good sound quality characteristics. You want to make sure your content is good again. It's researched, and also that anything like this that you do, any kind of content that you put up here, isn't too long and isn't too short. So you want a nice balance. Usually I go for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes with all my content, except for the blog. The blog itself is usually about a 5-10 minute read max. That's what I want for that. Why? Because audience churns. People are coming in, they're going out, and I want people to enjoy the video and see it. So it's important that I don't go too long, but I don't go too short. Now the shorts apparently right here on YouTube are really good. They generate a lot of impact and a lot of views and such. I haven't done one. Probably won't, because what can I say in 1 minute? I mean, this is an interview blog. It's a commentary blog. And it's the same thing for this channel. It's about comments and interviews. So anything like a minute is not going to work on that. It's the same thing with the podcast. A minute's not going to work. So that's the way I've designed it. The other thing too is good editing. You want to make sure that you use editing tools. For example, with the blog, it's Grammarly. With my Tales from the Cube podcast and YouTube here, it is called VideoPad, and I also use something called SoundPad, and a few other tools that I use. Really, really cool programs that are by a company called NCH. Okay, NCH is the name of the company. There you go. You now have that. That particular company really has some excellent software, and it's pretty user friendly. Now, there is in this suite very technical things that you can do with the audio and the video. I use the basic stuff more or less within it, but I still have a lot of things that I can do in the video, but that or the audio here, but and other parts too. I can even add photos. I can do all kinds of things, screen sharing, the nines. I can do the whole thing, but all that to say essentially that this is a good robust tool, and you want to have that along with another tool I use, which is Clipchamp. you are able to upload videos and edit there as well. You can even create. I use that as my editor. Like I said, I do the video here in video pad, and then what I do is I go into the other channel, which is Clipchamp, and I do my editing there because there are things I just am able to use within that software piece that are much more flexible for me. So that's just a choice. By choice, I make that. So those are some of the things that I think you want to really consider when you're doing content. Overall, you want to, at the end of the day, have some fun with this. If you're looking to do what I want to do, which is just also have a little bit of income come through, you want to make sure that everything you do is above board as far as your content goes, meaning it's good, clean content, doesn't violate any laws or rules of the platforms that you're on, is well researched, is grammatically, if it's written correct, edited properly, and also is recorded if you're doing podcasts and YouTube videos in a place that is sound as far as the room goes, sound sensitive in no way, shape, or form. It's sound positive actually, and I know it sounds like a weird way of putting it, but you want a good space to be able to do that. And at the end of the day, if you do all of those things, I think you'll find your content is going to get noticed. And also, the other thing too is using advertising tools like VeeFly, like Blogpros for blogs, and Anchor. You know, if you want to use some of their tools to get advertising, or even iHeartRadio, all of these places are really good to go into and use to advertise. And you'll get people. Trust me, you will. I'm very happy with the way things are going, and I hope that you're happy with the content. It's been really nice working on this particular video today, and I'm going to basically cut it short here, or not so much cut it short, but I'm going to cut it loose here and carry on with the rest of my day. I hope that your day goes really well. Thank you very much for dropping in, and I will see you in the next Candid comment or zoomed in interview right here on YouTube. Take care. Bye for now.